Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. What's going on, guys? And also, I forgot to say, shout out to everybody. 250,000 subscribers, 250,000. Thank you so much. Means the world to me. Thank you. More than I just couldn't tell you how much it means to me. Thank you so much. Anyways, let's get into it. Rob McCoy. Now, I've already called out some of his lies, but one of them, there was kind of some pushback. And it was when he said Frank Turek was covered in blood. And I said, well, Frank Turek didn't even get in the car. And I was like, you know, there's some people that push back. They said, no, he got into the back. And then I saw footage and I was like, he did get into the back of the SUV that Charlie was put into. He did get into the back. They say that he administered CPR until they got there. Now, the thing about that is that we have an eyewitness. We have an eyewitness who was not at the shooting. They were actually present at the hospital. They were in the parking lot when Charlie and Mikey McCoy in another vehicle came to the hospital. And what he says he saw is pretty interesting. Now, I'm going to give you guys a little flashback, of course, into what Rob McCoy said. But there is a creator on here. I'm going to kind of skip through them. They got a very unpleasant voice. If anyone knows this creator, and it's not the person whose name is in the corner, it's not them. Yeah, if you know this creator, tell them no with the voice. The voice is just absolutely terrible. Okay? It's just so bad. Anyways, let's get into it.
I'm looking at my son who's 24 years old. I think he's the chief of staff. The minute Charlie was shot, he called me, says, Dad, Charlie's been shot in the neck. Please call every pastor and pray. He has wits about him. He was just directing. He had blood all over him. And
so, if this is your pastor...
Hear that? What was that? Why on earth would you do that with your voice in a video? Like, bro, relax. Relax. I know it's bad out there. I know, you know, they took Charlie. They come after people. I know, but come on with that voice. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, that was the number one thing, and I know I've been through this with you guys already. You know, Mikey McCoy did not have blood all over him. And also, the question was that a lot of people had, you know, the few people who gave me some pushback, the thing was, well, Mikey McCoy, maybe he went to the hospital and he picked him up, or, you know, so many things could have happened. No. And you'll hear from the eyewitness that didn't happen either. Now, let's keep going. I gotta brush past this guy, though.
Did not have on him not one drop of blood, he thought.
Signals? Really? Turek. Oh, signals? Really?
But this is not the only lie he told.
Frank Turek. Oh, signals? Really? You're going to put that garbage out? That they were giving hand signals? That was Frank Turek. He was covered in blood because he was giving Charlie CPR.
Actually, Frank Turek wasn't covered in blood.
Now, those voices, you know what? They sound Russian. Maybe they're really afraid because they're in Russia. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but absolutely terrible. Now, this creator, they're about to point out the same thing that I did. It's like, how could he be covered? He got ducked down, he ran off, blah, blah, blah. But he actually does get into the back of the car. Thank you guys for letting me know that. Now, I'm just going to play the rest of the clip, and then we're going to jump over to the eyewitness.
When Charlie was in...
Oh my God.
Frank Turek did, and Frank Turek knows.
Just the worst.
And the other guy,
voices.
Dan, the security guard, he's somehow tied in with this conspiracy. Get over yourself. Dan is a believer. I love that man.
Dan is not Dan's not Christian. You know? How do I say this? Dan is he's Philadelphian. I know, way too close to the camera, but you have to understand, I have a Patreon now, so consider subscribing to the Patreon. As you know, sometimes we get attacked by bigger accounts and it puts this channel in jeopardy. On Patreon, I'll be able to talk about things that I can't talk about here, and you'll have more of a link to me just in case, because like I said, they're going to figure out this whole Philadelphia thing that I've been rolling with the past few weeks. And if they do, you'll find me over there. Link in the description. You see what I mean? Why is Rob McCoy taking the time to make so many things up? Like, what is that? It's so odd. To me, I know some people just be like, oh, well, he's a liar. That's it. It's just so many things in one speech. And let me tell you something about this speech. Okay? I know what this is called. I pulled up this speech, and Ian Carroll saw this speech, and he pulled it up on his stream, and I saw the title, and I saw what page it was on, what YouTube channel, and I go there, and I can't find it anymore. Why? Because there's so many people pointing out how many lies are told within that sermon. If you can even call it that. It's not even a sermon at this point. Like, you're just airing out your own grievances. Like, this is not something that a congregation needs to hear. I get upset when I go to church and it's just music for like 40 minutes. I'm like, where's the word? I want to just hear Bible. Can I just get Bible? I might have to go to Catholic church because I'm just trying to hear Bible. Just let me hear the what. Can I just hear it, please? I don't want the guitars. I got to be honest. I don't want the drums and all that, you know? But again, this guy's just airing out grievances here. So what is this even? Now, let's jump over to this guy who was actually here at the hospital. Of course, you can see it's the first shot. Settle in. It's a pretty long clip. It's about almost 5 minutes. Let's get into it.
So they head north, the first one. And they pull in right over here where it says ambulance. Right here. Then they go around over here to the front where it says surgery. And then I was parked right here. And when they pulled in here, some dude gets out in the back. Some dude's in the back, like of the SUV. He has like a white hat on. And he gets out from the, I don't know what the fuck he's doing in the back. No, not like in the back seat. He's in the back. Like the hatch of the SUV opens up. Dude gets out. Driver gets out. He's bald-headed dude. And then they're met by some people right here.
Now, I just got to go back. You're going to hear the rest of it because it sounds very weird. But listen to what he says.
And he gets out from the... It's like when they pulled in here, some dude gets out in the back. Some dude's in the back, like of the SUV. He has like a white hat on. And he gets out from the... I don't know what the fuck he's doing in the back. No, not like in the back seat. He's in the back. Like the hatch of the SUV opens up. Dude gets out. Driver gets out. He's bald-headed dude.
Now, understand this. This guy is describing somebody who, according to Rob McCoy, and I think, I'm not sure if Andrew said it as well, but I'll say, according to one person at Turning Point who is telling the story where everybody else is being silent, he's telling the story. One person is saying, this guy's covered in blood. Don't you think that if they were on the way, and this is where Frank is doing CPR, and he's getting covered in blood, like Rob says, wouldn't that be the first thing this guy describes when describing Frank? Instead of describing white hat, wouldn't he say, and then all of a sudden a guy busts out the back and he's completely covered in blood? Wouldn't that be the thing to say? White hat. Oh, the driver was a bald guy. Oh, he gets out of the backpack. You think you would just gloss over that? Oh yeah, and he was covered from, from shoulder all the way to belly button. It was just, the white shirt was barely even white. It was just all red. Yeah, I forgot that detail. No, that's no, 100% not. That would be the detail that sticks out. For him, he didn't even say that. Why? Because Frank was not covered in blood. Why is Rob McCoy taking the time to make these things up? Why is he trying to make it seem, for his son, for Frank, why is he trying to make it seem like they were more heroic? Why is he making it seem like they did everything they could for Charlie? Why can't he just say the actual truth of what happened? Well, maybe, and I don't know for sure, not a mind reader, okay? Maybe it's because the truth doesn't sound that good. Maybe it's because the truth sounds kind of messed up. Just a little bit. Just saying. Now let's keep listening, because his account is very odd.
And then they're met by some people right here. Then they threw, well, whoever's in the back seat, like on a, what's that table they throw your ass on and then wheel you in? That thing. Now, here's where I'm at. This is where I'm parked. About 4 minutes later, let's see. 3, 8, 9, 44. Yeah, about 5. I don't know. No, I do know. Let's just say up to 5. Another SUV pulls in, okay? But this SUV passes me right here. That's why I keep saying it looked like Mikey McCoy. And then this one, because at the time that this is happening, I'm eating my cheeseburger and fries and a milkshake, and I have no idea what the f*** is going on. I don't know who Charlie Kirk was, Mikey McCoy, before any of this. But I'm eating my cheeseburger, and I'm looking this way. That's when I seen all that go down. Right? There. Right here. Yeah, let's see. And then the other SUV comes right here, passes me, looks just like Mikey McCoy. I know what Mikey McCoy now looks like. That's why I put 2 and 2 together. And then they go this way. The SUV goes this way. Once it turns the right side right here, I can't see it. But within 5 minutes of finishing up my fries in a shake, because I remember I was dipping my fries in my shake, I proceed to drive over here to do my job, which is to look for a place to stage our salt and then do an audit of the parking lot for snow removal services, because it's a zero tolerance property, especially back here.
And this guy's story just checks out so much for me. It's like, you question, like, why is this guy even there? Like, that's a perfect story. Like, he's just saying, snow removal makes perfect sense. You would be scouting it out at that time, especially a nice big contract like a hospital that needs it done. They're going to pay top dollar. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
And then that SUV was down there by the physician's parking, where you can't go in. And it parked right to the side of that building. And then that's when someone came out and got in. Then they left right here, pull out, then they head south to 800 North, and then make a right.
So, that's the account there. Okay? This is very, I just gotta verify one thing.
That SUV was down there by the physician's parking.
One more, hold on.
Where you can't go in. And it parked right.
That is a Morty tattoo. Good God. What a guy. This guy's a trustworthy guy. You know, you get cocky, Rick and Morty, you get the Rick tattoo because you want to seem like you're a genius, like you're deep. You get the Morty tattoo when you're just honest with yourself. It's an honest guy right there. I see the little things that you don't pick up on, okay? I see the little things that you don't pick up on, okay? Build up the character. I understand this man now. He's an honest guy. But now the question begs, who is the person that gets out, leaves Charlie, gets out, and then on top of that, Mikey McCoy leaves? Mikey McCoy skedaddles. And again, there is no chance that Mikey could have been covered in blood because he didn't even go in to see Charlie. They left. Very weird. Very, very weird. Again, who is the guy who hopped in, drove over there, hopped in, and they drove away with? No idea. Is it one of the security guys? Is it, Dan Flood, the believer? Is it him? Is it Rick Cullen? Is it, I think those are the only two, or Dan Harpole? Is it one of those guys? Who is it that hops in and leaves? Oh, man. Just weird stuff. Weird stuff. Over and over and over again. It just gets weirder and weirder. And it just seems so shady. It really does. Day one, it seemed crazy. And then by 2 weeks, it's just like, what's going on here? And now it's weeks from when it happened, months almost, and it's just like, what on earth is going on? What on earth was Charlie dealing with? Who was around him? I just did another episode before I started this one. And it was about Candace talking about how Charlie was a maestro and how Charlie was telling people like Tucker. He was telling, Dave Smith. He was telling people like Officer Tatum. He was telling them to go hard on certain subjects, whether it was the Jeff in the file subject, whether it was Philadelphia, whatever it was. He was telling them to go hard because he couldn't be seen going hard. So it was like a little tactic that he would use, that he would put these people in position and have them really go hard towards the audience and show the audience, make the audience think about these things, present these questions, because he couldn't be seen doing that because it would affect him and his donors and his company. And that's a very sly way of doing it. And it seems like someone caught wind. Someone picked up on what he's doing, what he was doing. It even got to the point Candace said that he would be talking to the president and he would say, he'd be talking very gently about what he thinks. And, hey, just people really don't like, the idea of going into this war with Iran. Like, they really don't like it. And it's not what young people like. And, if this is something you go through with, it's gonna affect 2028 really badly. And then, Candace said he would call people like her. He would call people like Matt Gaetz. He would call a bunch of people to really go hard on social media, to really show, so he could point to evidence and say, look, this is how these people are talking. Look how many people are agreeing with them. This is not something you should be doing, Mr. President. He would do stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying that ticked off Trump, but I am saying it probably. Now, I'm not saying that it ticked the president off, but I am saying when it came to that war, it could have ticked off someone else who wanted that war. It could have. I'm just putting out ideas. It's just, man, because when you see how he was dealt with, again, I've talked about this so many times, it goes past incompetence. At this point, every video I've done, everything I've seen Valhalla, VFT cover, everything I've heard Ian cover, it just looks, at a certain point, it can't be incompetence. It can't be, It's just too, it all seems too deliberate and too in your face. And then again, I bring up that whole Maestro thing for a reason. And then you see what he was doing, and you see what he was talking about, and you see the names that he was bringing about. And his last step was, I'm going to bring back Candace. And oh my God, what a whirlwind that would have brought if Charlie stepped back on stage with Candace. If Charlie, I said it in the other video, if Charlie looked at Candace and said, go hard, she'd be like, okay. She'd be like, good for you. Thanks for letting me do that. It would be wild what she would say. Can you imagine? And people would have to accept it. They'd be like, oh yeah, that's Candace. Oh, you know, they've introduced some good thoughts here today. You know, I never thought of things like this. Oh man. Can you imagine the rosters? Tucker, Candace, Charlie. Who else could you throw in there? By the time it was late 2026, they'd have Ian Carroll on a Turning Point event. Ian be like, "Can I get a PowerPoint? I actually need a PowerPoint. There's a lot of things I gotta break down for you guys." Oh, it'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. I think eventually Charlie would have sat down in front of Nick. I think that, or Charlie would have had Nick debate someone else, just like he had just like he had Dave Smith debate Josh Hammer. Would have done something like that, and I bet you it would have happened. I bet you, because he was really trying. It's not like, you know, I'm not saying that he was like full blown Candace. I'm not saying he had all the same beliefs as Candace. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying he realized that he had to start allowing there to be a voice for people who felt like Candace, like Tucker, like Dave Smith. You have to allow that voice to be there, because Charlie said it himself, when people start talking, that's when violence starts. That's when people start getting hurt. He said that himself when he first started sitting down in front of people at the desk. He said that. And if you all of a sudden say that part of the conservative movement doesn't exist and you're just going to ignore it, it will just grow. It'll just grow. And guess what? Eventually it'll be like, you know what? We don't even want to be a part of whatever you got going on. And the next thing you know, there's the left, there's the right, and then there's the other right. And now they're warring. They might as well come together and start hearing each other's ideas. It's what makes the most sense. I'll never act like I know exactly what happened to Charlie, but I got a good idea. I got a pretty good idea. Anyways, guys, I'm out of here.